Sketches of life. Cult member matching website. Interior apartment kitchen. At a kitchen table, in a dump of an apartment, a young, dirty-looking blonde woman is surfing the internet on a beat-up laptop. She stops and looks up at the camera. I've been masking my insecurities and emotional baggage with stripping, tattoos, and amateur pornography for the last 3 years. I'd like to join a cult to consolidate my self-destructive activities, but every time I log onto the internet, I don't know where to begin. I need help. Cut 2. Interior. A men's room at a bar. A loser is dressed like a wannabe badass, finishing up at the urinal. When done, he zips up and turns to face the camera. My parents are hardcore Christians. When I turned 18, I could have just moved out of the house and discarded their gospel in favor of a more reasonable approach to religion. Instead, I've decided to reject their faith in order to become a hardcore zealot of a different religion. I've tried to find a really hardcore Buddhist badass to follow, but I keep ending up in a boring temple full of nice Asian people. Same with the sun worshippers, same with the Mormons. Is there any help out there at all for me? Cut 2. Interior. A church basement. In a dingy basement full of religious supplies and shag carpeting, an aspiring cult leader is sitting Indian style on the floor, tooling around with an acoustic guitar by himself. After a couple of strums, he looks up to the camera. I've recently received a telepathic message from Great Spirit Actron the Magnificent that I am to form an army of drug-addicted female sex slaves and mentally feeble young men who will assist me. But I'm 38 years old, and I've never managed a cult before. I've been squatting in the basement of this abandoned church, but I don't have the faintest idea of where to find the kind of hot young women and malleable men I need to carry out Great Actron's message. I need help. Dissolve 2. Images of the 3 characters run together consecutively as the announcer speaks. First, the blonde woman using her laptop in frustration. Next, the loser back at the bar having a drink. And finally, the cult leader strumming his guitar. Does this sound familiar to you? You've got a black hole for a moral compass, and it's just not pointing in any useful direction. Well, now there's Cult Roundup, the first online match service for cultists and cult leaders. It's easier than devil worship and a lot less expensive. Cut 2. Interior apartment kitchen. The blonde woman looks up at the camera again. A website for finding a cult? What's the catch? Announcer, voiced over. There is no catch. Just go to cult-roundup.com to set up an account, get a subscription plan, log on, start browsing, and contact whomever you want. Cut 2. Interior. Church basement. Cult leader looks at the camera again. I quit my job and left my wife and children to serve Actron the Magnificent, so budgeting is a concern for me. Announcer, voiced over. That's not a problem at cultroundup.com. It only costs you $8 a month to be an active member. Cut 2. Interior. Bar. Loser sits up, swivels around on his bar stool, faces the camera. So what are the benefits of membership? Announcer, voiced over. Being a member of the Cult Roundup community gives you access to profiles of over 1 million cult leaders and followers from all over the world. Further, there's no limitation to the number of people you can contact. Leaders can post times and locations of future meetings. Followers can take a personality test to determine which cult is right for them. CultRoundup.com has it all. As the announcer answers this question, scene dissolves to images of all 3 participants logging on to the Cult Roundup website. First, the blonde woman at her kitchen table, going to the website. Next, the loser at the bar, using his cell phone to log on to the website. And finally, the cult leader in the church basement, going over to his desktop computer and turning it on to find the website. Cut 2. Interior, church basement. Cult leader is strumming his guitar. and the camera zooms out to show that he's now performing in front of a nice-sized crowd of followers, including the blonde woman and the loser. The other men and women in attendance look very similar to these two. The cult leader finishes his song and addresses his flock. "Thank you, my children. I've received another message from Lord Actron the Magnificent. He has decreed that the women here should wear these specially made outfits, while the men get started on cleaning up the church and printing out the brochures that we will need to spread his word throughout this world." Cult leader holds up a skimpy bikini and gestures to a pile of others in the corner. The women all get up and follow the cult leader into another room, each taking a bikini as they go, and the men all head upstairs to get started on their chores. After the basement is empty, cult leader pokes his head out from the room where he's with the women and looks to the camera. Thanks, CultRoundup.com. Fade out. Recorded June 5th, 2013.